All right, I guess we can already get started. So first of all, thank you everybody for joining and listening in. Depending on where you are, either good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Here I'm located now in Latvia, Riga, and here it's already 6 p.m. So I guess it's already closer to the evening side. But yeah, let's maybe slowly then get started. So obviously the topic of today's event is UgCS 5.0. So this update we actually released on the first day of when there was the Exponential Expo in San Diego. So that was when it already came out, and I know probably I saw from the chat there's somebody who already met us there in San Diego on the stand and already maybe has seen the new version. But yeah, so in general today, I just want to give you a bit of an overview of what has changed, what is new, maybe give a bit of an insight on what cool new features we are planning to add, and also try to answer some of the questions that some of you guys have. So, in general about today, so the approximate duration is planned to be 1 hour with the Q&A session. Please, if you have any questions, do put them in the Q&A. If you're watching this on Zoom, or if you're watching this on some of the other platforms, then just feel free to put that in the comments section, and then my colleagues will just send the questions to me. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording will also be sent to you afterwards, and also will be published on our YouTube. For those of you who don't know, our YouTube channel is UgCS at UgCS TV. And yeah, so overall today's agenda is give you a bit of an introduction, then also show obviously UgCS 5.0, mention some notable changes in it. I'm also going to try to talk a bit about the remote ID for PX4 and autopilot drones and what has changed. And then we're going to go into the Q&A. So then without further ado, let's get right into it. So I'll just stop the screen share for just a moment, and I'll switch into UgCS itself. So let me then reshare the screen with you. And okay, so now you should be able to see it. So some of you probably are still in version 4. So I'll just maybe firstly go over some of the basic things. So in version 5, overall, the whole user interface has been remade and has been rebuilt from scratch on a completely new framework. So yeah, everything is brand new, fresh, while still keeping in most cases the same functionality we had before in UgCS 4. In case when you first launch it, if you connect it maybe on some external screen or and you basically notice that, okay, the screen scaling, it's either a bit too large or too small. One cool new thing we added here is that now if you press on the Control plus or Control minus, you can easily scale the interface up or down. So like so, you can just adjust the interface for your needs. So depending on if you're in the field with the laptop or if you are in the office on a larger screen, you can always adjust the UgCS 5.0 interface very easily to make it match your needs. And if you just want to reset it back to how it was, you can press Control 0 and you can see that the interface resets. I prefer to have it a bit larger, so I'll just, I think, leave it like so. In case you are on Mac, it also works on Mac. So there you can just press Command plus, Command minus, and Command 0 for these things. Oh yeah, I saw there was some comment about my video being lost, so I hope that everything is working okay now. But yep, so then a few of the other things that you might notice kind of straight off the bat. So if you look here in the left side of the screen, what has been changed here? So you can see that now looks like a bit less flight planning tools, right? And that's because some of them we have put underneath these 3 dots. So this is just mainly not to overwhelm our users with maybe having too many flight planning tools, which you don't really use on a daily basis. So all of those things which were here before, these are still underneath here. So if you want to find things such as, the perimeter mission, search and rescue tools for measurement, creating no-fly zones. So all of these are still located in here. We haven't taken them out. It's just to make the interface seem a bit more lightweight. And then another thing which you also might have already noticed, or maybe not, is that now for all of the flight planning segments, the parameters and actions now are located into separate tabs. So if you remember how it was in, okay, I see if you're still not seeing the shared, is it only you, Brian, who's not seeing the shared screen, or somebody else as well? Because I think it should, I'll reshare it just in case, but I hope should be fine. Okay, there we go. But yeah, in case maybe for some moment you won't really see the screen, then don't worry. Again, like I said, recording will be available. But I think if due to the network connection on your side, the screen is not showing, then I think after a while it should pop up. But yeah, so where I was, so now all the parameters and actions are in separate tabs. If in version 4, we had this like very long list of parameters for each of the flight planning tools, and especially for tools like the photogrammetry, it was just super long. And we had, to top it off, we had the actions there at the bottom. So now in 5.0, we have a slightly different approach. So if you just want to plan your missions very quickly, all of the basic parameters, they are available in here. So yeah, this is where basically you can input all the basic parameters when you want to plan your missions. If you want to change some more advanced parameters, then you can do this from the advanced tab. And then further on in the actions, this is where you can add different actions within UgCS. So let's maybe do a bit of an example route so you can see this a bit better in the process. So we can just click here on the create a route, and then in this window, we can go create from scratch. This already, I think most of you are familiar with, and then we can just select the drone for which we want to plan the mission. In this case, I'll select the DJI M350, click on done. And by the way, one more thing you might have noticed is that now the route parameters window, it no longer pops up every time when you create a route. If you want to access that, you can still go in here under these three dots on the route card, click on parameters, and then you can still edit them in here. But it's it's now speeds up the route creation process a bit. So now we are free to plan our mission. So I'll just maybe add a few waypoints here initially, like so. So you can see for the waypoint, actually, since there were not that many parameters to begin with, then under advanced tab, there's also not that many, but for the photogrammetry, there's a lot of parameters which have been moved into the tab for more advanced users. And so then if we now go into the photogrammetry tool, so now let's first select the camera. So I'm going to use the H20 wide camera. And then we can proceed to already planning out some area. In here, let's also adjust the direction angle, and let's wait for the route to be calculated. And there we go. So now in this photogrammetry mission, you can see, so which parameters are we using now as the base parameters. And then if we go here into actions, you can see we have already set camera by distance action in here. And if we also want to add the set camera attitude to change the tilt, so this also we can add. By the way, soon we'll add this action in here by default, so that for all photogrammetry and corridor mapping missions, you're going to have the set camera attitude 90 degrees in there by default. So that I think will be coming out in the next version, which we will release quite soon. So just a small little update. So yeah, now basic, advanced, and actions here under advanced for the photogrammetry, what is in here. So you still have your AGL tolerance parameter. So whenever you want to change how often is the altitude adjusted based on the terrain underneath, you can do that from here. Another thing is that now the elevation profile window, it has been moved to a location where it's a bit more accessible. So now actually the elevation profile window, it lives up here in the top bar. So now you can access it a lot more easily just by clicking here, and then you can see it opens up. Previously, as you might remember, the elevation profile was in here. So you had to click on each route card and then go to show elevation. So now it's just available a bit more easier for you. So yeah, that's about that. All of the parameters overall, they haven't really changed much. So these are still parameters which you might remember from version 4. So which I believe all of you should be already familiar with. And yeah, so that's essentially what has been changed in there. And now I think if we move on to the right-hand side of the screen, so then here you can see we have actually now combined the telemetry window together with the commands window. So firstly, yeah, you can see, of course, obviously the telemetry coming from the battery, GPS, and so on. And then underneath here where you have the control and flight modes. So actually in here, these now serve as both buttons and indicators. So when you want to switch a drone to a certain flight mode, obviously you can always do that with the remote controller. But in case you prefer to do that through UgCS, so you can always click on these flight modes in here. And whichever flight mode has this green frame, green border around, that's actually the current active flight mode. And also, of course, here you can see the state of the drone. So this will show things such as disarmed, armed, moving to waypoint number 1, number 2, and so on. And also when the drone is returning back home. So all of these states will change. Yeah, just a quick reminder, for those of you who have some questions, please don't put them in the webinar chat, put them in the Q&A. Otherwise, if they're in the chat, then it's just a bit harder for me to access that. So just please be sure to add them in the Q&A so I can answer them. Yeah, so then, like I said, this window is now a bit more combined, so a bit easier to access everything. You might also notice that now the upload route button, it's in green color, so it's just a lot more visible, I think. And underneath here, you'll still find the commands. So if you press on start route, then obviously the drone will switch into auto mode after the route has been uploaded and will start flying it. Similarly, hold and continue, of course, will pause the mission and continue, and any other actions or commands which you will have in here, according to the drone you're using, these will be available if you press on these arrows, and so you can kind of cycle through the respective actions. So for example, if you want to launch an emulator drone on a mission, so then in that case, I think I will now probably need to change the mission profile. Although actually, no, let's do this. So I have this emulator route already in here. I have the emulator, so now we can actually launch it. So then you just click here on upload route. Then let's start the route from the beginning. So now you can see the log down here as you're used to. So then next is we can arm the emulator drone. Again, this action isn't really needed with DJI drones, but just with emulator, you have to arm it first. And then once the drone is armed, we can press here on start route, and then you'll see that the drone is already taking off and it's flying through the route. So you can also now see that the control mode is currently set to auto, and that's why also you see this green frame around. And also you can now see that the state is showing that the drone is currently flying to point number 1, point number 2, and so on. So this will change now all through the mission. And also here on the side, you might have noticed that I previously had the arm command in there. So now the arm command has changed into land and return home commands. And so if at any point I also want to pause the drone, pause the mission, I can just press here on hold. So now I can see the drone is currently put on hold. And then if you want to continue the route from there, you can just press here on continue. And then the drone goes to the previous point it remembers from the route, and then it will continue flying the route from there. So yeah, that's essentially how you can use that with the emulator, but with other drones, it will be very, very similar. Also, towards a bit later, I think I'll cover a bit about the mobile applications and what is soon also changing, because also there might be some quite good news. Okay, let's see if I can maybe already answer some questions. Oh yeah, is it still possible to start a mission from a specific waypoint? Yes, of course. You can still start a mission from any waypoint that you want, and this is done in the upload route window. So when you press on upload route, so here you can see you have these 3 options. So you can either continue the route, which will continue the route from the last point. You can start the route from the beginning, and also you can start route from some specific waypoint. So let's say if you want to start from this waypoint that's here, which is waypoint number 20, then you would just enter this number, press confirm. So then the route would be uploaded starting from that point, and then you can start flying from there. So yeah, all of the functionality which you had in version 4, that's still retained in here. So here we haven't really removed anything. Okay, let's see what else I can already answer. One thing which you don't see now in this version is that now you don't see the visual indicators of the altitude, pitch, and roll of the aircraft. So as you remember, we had them in here. So we for now remove them, but we are now considering if we will add them back or not. Because one option is that, so this is the editing mode that we are in now. One option we're considering is that during the flight, you can switch on over to the flight mode, and then in the flight mode, you would see all of these indicators which were there before. But in case you need to see the drone's course, roll, and pitch angles, you can still do that from the full telemetry. So if you go here into the full telemetry, then you can scroll down, and for example, if you search pitch, then you can see the current drone's pitch angle. And in fact, another thing that UgCS has for those of you who want to see very specific telemetry values is that whenever you install UgCS, actually we have a separate app which installs that's called the Telemetry Viewer. And so there you're able to actually select custom telemetry fields which you want to be shown during the flight. So just could be something useful for you to see as well. In case you want me to also show that live, I can do that a bit later because I think I also have that now installed and could show, because it's a part of the standard UgCS installation package. But yeah, anyway, so all the angles, so roll, pitch, and so on, so these you can see in here in the full telemetry, and you can also use the search bar to go through them. And okay, let's see what else. I can maybe already answer something. Okay, actually quite a lot of questions here. I'll cover in just a bit. Yeah, actually one question which we had already before the webinar is UgCS compatible with the SkyHub system and all the sensors, including GPR, Echo Sender, and so on? Answer is yes. So for those of you doing bathymetric GPR and so on surveys, you can safely upgrade to UgCS 5.0. It has been tested with those systems, so that's all fine. One thing which you for now will not see in 5.0 is ability to manually create place marks. This is coming back in the new update, which will be released this month. So now if you right-click somewhere on the map, you'll see the possibility to cache the map for offline use. But previously also we had another option here that said create a place mark. And so for now, this is not yet here because just we wanted to roll out this version faster, but manual place mark creation is also coming back already in the next version. You can still import place marks from KML files though. So if you go here into the map layers window, which by the way is also just a quick mention of this change is if previously you had to click on, I believe it was map options, and then you had to kind of go down and click on map layers, and only then this window would open up. So now directly from the top bar, you can click here on map layers, and then it's just a bit faster to open this window. But anyways, so place marks, this is still in here. So if you want to import place marks from a KML file, you can still do that. But yeah, manual creation will be coming back very soon. Okay, I see it from somebody else, yeah, asking about the angle and roll in the window. Okay, that's fair enough, yeah. So I think then this we will probably add back, so this will also be coming. Yep, so then essentially from the top, let's maybe focus now a bit more towards the top bar and what has been changed in here. So this also we have simplified a bit while still trying to retain most of the functionality. So in here, if you open up this menu here on the left-hand side, so you also might notice that now the undo and redo buttons have moved in here. So the keyboard shortcuts, they're still available. So if you want to, for instance, make some changes to the route and then want to revert them back, so you just can do that from the keyboard like so. But just be understood that most people don't really use the buttons here in the top bar. They just use the keyboard hotkeys. So yeah, if you want to use the button, this is still in here, but to simplify things, yeah, we have moved them in here. Some other things. So if you click here on open mission, so now we actually have this new window in which you can see all of the missions which you have created. So currently I have only the demo mission in here, but if I go and now let's say create a new mission, and then I go back into the open mission window. So now you can see I have two, have bot missions which are in here currently. You can also search them. I know some of you guys, you have quite a lot of missions inside of your computer, so you can also easily search through them. And then this window will also display how many routes each mission has, as well as when was it exactly created. So yep, now let's go ahead and again open up this previous mission. And another thing which you might notice here is that now there's this kind of status indicator here in the top bar. So whenever you're uploading offline maps or uploading some DEM layers, so then you'll see the progress actually there in the top bar displayed. Yep, so then, well, here essentially, I think everything else has stayed more or less how it was. You can still see the mission name as well as you're able to rename it from here. And then, yeah, elevation profile, search bar. Then here you have the license activation window where you can see the estimated support. So how long will the support last for this license, the beginning of the license code, as well as the current version which you have. So map layers window, and then also one change is that if you want to switch between the editing mode and the telemetry player, so now if previously the switch was in here, so now you have this available in here. So now you can easily switch into the telemetry viewer, and so you can preview the telemetry, import, export, and do all the things which you were used to before. You also might notice that here the measurement tools, so they are no longer hidden since those are the only tools which you have in the telemetry viewer. So now these are more easily, well, as easily accessible as before. And then for some other things, such as changing the, I suppose like maybe some less used things, but still useful to some users. So a possibility to change the vehicle size to more smaller, possibility to trigger the drone name on and off, show and hide the drone arrows, show and hide the route summary, and saving different camera viewpoints. So these things are still in here. So this is moved now to the top right-hand corner of the screen here inside of UgCS. And yeah, so actually those are the main, at least from the initial glance, the main things which have changed here. Let's maybe now also go into the main menu, and just so you can see what changes are in here. So actually here, the biggest thing is that we've just simplified a bit the overall layout. So now the previous section, which was called vehicles, is now just called my drones. So under my drones section, you can expect to have all of the drones which you have had connected to UgCS at some point. And in here, if you go into profiles, so now the profiles section, it no longer contains only drones. So now it's both drones and payloads. So you might remember that previously the payload section was separate in here. So now we just simplified a bit, and you can switch between your vehicles and your payloads in here. And yeah, so that's essentially it from the main menu. If you're used to it, then I think you won't really see a huge difference. One thing is that now I believe in the current version, in some versions we also have the send feedback button if you want, in case you want to send us some feedback about the new version. This button, if in case you want to show or hide, then this is available in here. So if you uncheck this, then you will also see the send feedback button, but most likely we'll just move it to some other location. Yep, those are essentially the main things. I'll now maybe see if there are some questions which I can already answer. So I saw there's some question about using it for drone shows. In case you're interested in software for drone shows, we also do that, but this is not UgCS. So for drone shows, you can go to droneshowsoftware.com, and there you can fill out the contact form and get in touch with us. Let me see what else is in here. Quite a lot of questions actually now. So I'll maybe try to just take them kind of one by one. Yes, about the thanks for reminding about the remote ID. So remote ID has been added. Actually, it was added in the very last version of version 4 of UgCS and is now also in the version 5. So how does this work exactly? Firstly, if you're using a DJI drone, then no need to worry. DJI drones handle the remote ID from the controller. So there's nothing which you need to do on the UgCS side to have remote ID work with your DJI drone. So these remote ID changes, these are mainly actually for autopilot and PX4 based drones. So when you connect a drone that is remote ID enabled, so autopilot or PX4 drone, you'll see actually a new indicator in here. I can't currently easily show it just because I don't have an Ardo drone connected, but you'll see a green or a red indicator in there. Also in the log, you'll see a prompt to open a window where you can configure your remote ID. So this includes setting up the name of the vehicle, your operator's ID, as well as the vehicle ID. But so all these things you can actually change from the main menu. So if we go in there, then here for the connected drones, again, actually I should have connected some other drone before so you could see it. But basically to configure the vehicle's serial number, then you can click here on the drone's profile and then you will see these windows here where you can enter the drone's ID. And then for the operator ID, this is here in the configuration, remote ID. And then here you can configure your CA pilot ID. So you just enter the operator ID as well as the self ID. And then, well, essentially this will be saved onto the drone. So whenever the drone, firstly, UgCS will help the drone clear the pre-arm check. And then whenever the drone has to take off, then of course, all of these parameters will automatically be transmitted. And let's see then what else. Oh yeah, question. So is UgCS 5.0 still compatible with UgCS for DJI? I've been hearing actually quite a lot of questions about this, so I think it maybe makes sense to cover. So firstly, straight off the bat, yes, so you can still use drones connected to UgCS from UgCS for DJI mobile app. But in general, so there are 3 different ways how you can connect your drone, your DJI drone to UgCS. So number 1, actually maybe let me share the screen again. That could be, in fact, a bit easier if I can just show you the site. Just give me a second. I'll switch the screen share to our website and then I'll just take you through that. So I'll stop the screen share and then I'll just reshare it again. So let's go in here. So again, 3 different ways how you can connect your DJI drone to UgCS. So number 1, for all drones up to for all DJI drones up to and including the M300, you can use our UgCS for DJI mobile app. This is, I believe, something that many of you are already used to. And so all drones up to M300 can be connected to UgCS using the UgCS for DJI app running on the remote controller. These drones exclude the ones mentioned here. So M30, Mavic 3 Enterprise series, and the M350, these cannot be connected using this method. For these drones, there are 2 other methods which you can use. So method number 1 is connecting, well, I suppose method number 2, connecting from DJI Pilot 2 directly. So this also, I think I have explained before, but basically you can put both the UgCS and the Pilot 2 app on the same network. In the Pilot 2 app, under Cloud Connections, you enter the IP address of the computer running UgCS. We have instructional video on how to do this on our YouTube also. And then the drone will connect and the routes will automatically sync up. But now actually there's a 3rd way, which you can already do for the M350 and will soon be able to also do for M30 and Mavic 3 Enterprise drones. So on the site, actually currently it's not that easy to find it, but we have a new app, which is called the UgCS Companion. If you go here into Integrated Systems and SkyHub, then here actually you will be able to see it. So this app is called UgCS Companion. And so with this, you are able to connect M350 drones directly to UgCS. And so the difference between using Pilot 2 connection and using UgCS Companion is that with Companion, you're using the DJI's MSDK. So this means that you will be able to send commands to the drone directly from UgCS. So rather than when you go to the Pilot 2 connection where you have to, where you're not able to send the commands directly and you have to launch the mission from the Pilot 2 with the Companion, it works differently. So Companion just connects, and then all of the actions, all of the commands you do directly from UgCS. But keep in mind, so this app, it's more lightweight, so you won't be able to do a lot of different camera configuration. So essentially, you will be able to configure your RTK GPS. You will be able to see the camera and switch between camera lenses, and then, just follow the progress of the route inside of the mobile app. But all of the commands, this is what you will do from UgCS. So hope that clears it up. Just one note is that the Companion does not yet, the public version doesn't yet have support for Mavic 3 Enterprise and M30 drones, but this will be coming either this week or next week. So just keep an eye out on the announcement. So we'll have a new version of the Companion app, which will also officially support the Mavic 3 Enterprise and M30 drones. So this means that for those of you who don't really like using the Pilot 2 app and would prefer to use our own app for the drone connection, you will have this option. And I know that I've heard some complaints that when you have to restart the mission after battery change, I mean, if you want to restart the mission from a specific waypoint, and Pilot 2 does not allow that. So that's one thing that will be different with Companion, because the Companion app does allow that. Since you're essentially sending the commands directly from UgCS, you will be able to set an exact starting point of the drone. So you will be able to set an exact waypoint. But for now, this app is mainly for SkyHub users who use the M350. But like I said, other drones will also be coming out soon. I see another question. So will the Companion support the M300? Yes, actually, that's the plan. So we are working on it. So first we plan to roll out support in the Companion app for the M3E and the M30 drone series. And after that, hopefully also the M300. With M300, it's a bit more tricky to add the support, but we're working on it. And so I believe also that probably by end of this month or beginning of next one, we will be able to also announce this and give you this possibility. Okay, so then I'll just mark out some questions I have answered live just because there's so many of them. Another question I see is, so would Companion ever support PX4? No, Companion is only for DJI drones. So if you want to connect a PX4 or Autopilot drone to UgCS, there's basically two options how you can do that. Either you can connect an Ardour PX4 drone directly through a radio link to UgCS, or if you're using the HearLink controller, you can just connect the HearLink controller to UgCS. So essentially, you just put the HearLink and the UgCS on the same network, and the drone will connect. So there's really no need to have a separate app for that, because you can just connect directly from the HearLink. You can run the Q Ground Control app on the HearLink while being connected to UgCS. So hope that answers your question. Let's maybe go a bit, let's take a step back and go back into UgCS. I'll again switch the screen share here, and then let's see what other questions I can answer and show to you. One question I saw from Juan is, so does UgCS have any other languages such as Spanish? Answer is yes. So we have multi-language support, and so you can access that if you go here into the configuration, well, main menu, configuration, and then you can go into language, and so then in here you can switch the language settings. So if you want to switch to Spanish, French, or some other language, so then you can do this from this screen in here. Okay, let's see what else. Yep, about the there's one question also about Mavic 3 multispectral. So this question I believe I already answered. So that Mavic 3 multispectral also will be, it will be possible to connect it to UgCS through the Companion app, and so the support for Mavic 3 multispectral and other enterprise series drones will be coming out in the next few weeks. And let's see what else. so many questions I can trying to navigate through all of them, seeing what I can answer already now. Yeah, so another question I see is about minimum altitude value for waypoints. So let's maybe go into this mission so I can show this a bit better. This is for both version 4, version 5, doesn't matter. But so out of the box, the minimum flight height actually which you can use, it's 5 meters. So if you want to, if you're trying to set actually some lower waypoint altitude here inside of UgCS, you'll see now you'll get an error saying, so this altitude, whatever you're trying to set, it's less than the safe altitude of 5 meters. But in fact, if you want to have an automated mission that has a lower altitude than that, you can do this. And the way to do that is in here. So if you go into the main menu, profiles, and then under the vehicles, find the drone for which you're trying to fly at a lower altitude. Click here on edit, and then here you should be able to find, let's scroll a bit down. So the minimum safe height over terrain. So you can see currently it's set to 5 meters. And so now if I, let's say, set this to 2-meter altitude and then go back in here, so now you can see that the route will be recalculated. And so then it should, yeah, you can see now the altitude is set to 4 meters. So now it allows me to plan flights below 5-meter altitude. However, a bit of a disclaimer that for all flights which are done below 5 meters, firstly, if you're not using true terrain following, make sure to very closely monitor the flight and don't fly at high speeds, because it's obviously this 5-meter limit. It's a safety precaution by us as well as drone manufacturers. But if you have to fly below this altitude to gather some data, I would really recommend using our true terrain following system. So if you go to integrated.ugcs.com, then you will be able to see that and read more about what can the SkyHub system do. And because essentially it uses a radar altimeter, which allows the drone to follow the terrain using true terrain following, where it measures the altitude in real time. Yeah, another question I see is about LiDAR flight planning. So can you do a LiDAR mission using 5.0, and what software can you use to process this? So, okay, let me also maybe go into that. So, of course, LiDAR missions you can plan in version 5. So in here, you can see that now I have the LiDAR area and LiDAR corridor flight plans. So both of these are still available as they were in the previous versions of our software. So yeah, you can easily plan a LiDAR mission using the field of view angle. You can also add the LiDAR IMU calibration pattern if you're using LiDAR that requires that. So you can add it, let's say, before the mission and after as well. And then also, of course, for the LiDAR mission itself, you can also do things such as adjust the corner radius. So let's say now it's 6 by default. I can set it also to something like 20 meters. In case you also want to use the loop turns, also this is possible. You just need to set the loop turn angle to some higher value, and then now you can see that it's also doing the loop turns to allow the drone for a smoother cornering. And if you want to adjust something for the loop turns, then also, in fact, you can do this in here. So if you can, for instance, say, so what should be the straight flight after the turn? What also, in case you want to increase the overall area size, you can use the area buffer. So all of these tools are designed specifically for doing LiDAR surveys. And to answer a second question on, so what software can be used for data processing? So I would recommend using LiDAR 360 software. That's actually the software which you can also find on our web shop. So if you go to shop.ugcs.com, you will be able to see LiDAR 360 software that's specifically designed for processing LiDAR data, and that's the one we recommend. It's made by Green Valley International, but we're their partners, and so that's, I think, one of the best softwares actually for LiDAR data processing, because you can do different things such as classifying ground points. You can also use this for power line purposes, for forestry. So there's different modules which you can buy in addition to the base framework, which allow you to process LiDAR data. Going further to the questions, yeah, one is about mapping large areas. And can large areas be easily divided into segments? Actually, great question, because this is something we've been hearing a lot and are thinking that maybe we can do something in this regard. So now, actually, a lot of you guys who are planning the missions in GCS, you are planning them for specifically larger areas. And so for now, I know a lot of the guys who are doing this, you're, creating one mission and then just duplicating it and moving to cover a larger area. So how this can be done is that, for instance, you have this mission in here. I can then press here on duplicate, and then in this new mission, I can select all the segments, and then basically just all of them together, I can move it somewhere over here, leave a bit of overlap between the two. And so then in this way, I can cover larger areas. But I have a bit of a feature in mind which could actually allow you to do this more easily and in a bit of a more automated way. So currently you still have to either manually create the flight plans, or if you want to have one large area, then you can also just import it from a KML file. So if you have some KML file, you can just select it in here, and then from the polygon, GCS can automatically create a large area. But for splitting it automatically into smaller pieces, that's something which we are thinking about. Yeah, one question is about the SDK. So yeah, SDK, it's still the same as in the previous version. So that one hasn't really been changed. Let's see what else. I know I see some of you guys are actually also asking some support related questions. Something isn't really working for you, something very specific. And just maybe keep things simple. In case you have some support related questions, please make sure to send them to support@ugcs.com, and then we're going to try to cover them there and help you. One question I see about LiDAR 360 is, can you use it with the L1? Answer is yes, absolutely. So you can also use LiDAR 360 for processing the L1 data. So the workflow for the L1 or L2 would be the following. So first, you plan the mission inside of UgCS, where you obviously go and collect the LiDAR data. Once the data is collected, you do the initial data processing and the strip alignment inside of DJI Terra. And then from DJI Terra, you'll get out a point cloud file. And so then this point cloud, you can simply import and open up in LiDAR 360, and then you can do more detailed processing in there. Let's see what else. Yeah, so for I see one question is about using Google Earth to get the 3D buildings. So also been getting this quite a lot. So currently, yes, you can't yet have the 3D buildings. So for now, if we go here into the map layers, you can see you can have the map, which is using Google Satellite by default. Then in the elevation tab, of course, we have the default elevation. But so in case you want to have a layer which also includes the buildings and some other objects from above the surface, then in fact, one thing you can do is you can import a digital surface model from some other source, and then you can use that in order to kind of have this information about this layer. But we know about this issue, so also we're working on it, and there might be some solution also coming in the future, which would allow you to see more information from what's above the surface, so see 3D buildings and things like that. Let's see what other questions are there, which I can try to answer now. Yeah, one worry is that somebody had is about the previous flight plans made in GCS 4 and then upgrading to version 5. So if you have your previous flight plans and you just do an upgrade to version 5, you will still retain all of the flight plans. Only if you uninstall version 4 and then delete the user data, then you won't have access to your flight plans anymore. Of course, it's still a good idea just in case if you have something very important to back it up. But if you just do an upgrade from version 4 to version 5, then all of the flight plans, they will still remain. Another question I see that was here is actually about the visibility range. And I can also maybe just quickly show this. So what's the purpose of that? So basically the visibility range is intended for when you're flying in more mountainous areas, when you know your exact takeoff location and you know the approximate, basically it allows you to see how far will you be able to still see the drone and have the radio connectivity. So if we go here and then select the visibility range, we can, let's say, put 1 point somewhere in here. And then we can, essentially have some exact radius of visibility. So let's say this can be 1 kilometer, then press on calculate. And so you can see that how far would you see the drone in, at this exact altitude from this point. And you can also move this point upwards. Let's say if the drone was at something like 50 meters. So then you can also calculate this again. And so then you can now see, so how far would you be able to see the drone from this altitude and have the radio connectivity. So that's just one useful tool which can come in handy, especially when you're flying in those more mountainous areas. Okay, let's see what else I can answer here. Yeah, one interesting question that's also I see is about having possibility to automatically adjust the camera even when scanning vertical facades or cliffs. That's something also we've been thinking about adding in actually. Because so currently we have the smart AGL terrain following algorithm, which allows the drone to keep a constant distance to the ground in front of it. So just maybe demonstrate this. Let's plan a bit of an area scan mission in here using the smart AGL. Flight height I'll set to something like 50. And then if I want the drone to fly up here, for example. So then in this case, it will be utilizing the smart AGL terrain following. And so what's different is that if the normal AGL keeps an exact distance to the ground, then the smart AGL actually it keeps constant distance even to the terrain in front. So when you have to scan those more steep cliffs, then this can come in handy. For now, the camera you still would move manually during the flight if you have to fly over some very, very steep cliff. But yeah, we've actually had this request about adding some possibility to also automatically adjust the camera angle so the camera can scan whatever is in front. So that feature may be coming. So yeah, I won't share any more details yet, but that's something have had quite a lot of requests for, and so it could be coming in the next versions. So let's then see what other, yeah, whether this is how you can also see the Smart AGL in action in here. So you can see that even when you have to fly the drone up this very, very steep hill, it automatically understands. So what's the distance to the terrain in front of it, not just below it, and automatically increases this flight altitude to match that. And so now if we open up the elevation profile, you can see how it looks like. And also maybe make this window a bit larger. And if we compare this to just normal AGL, so then let's even see if it will calculate using normal AGL. But you can see in many of these places where it flies over the steepest part that the drone gets way too close to the cliff. So I would not be flying a route like this without having the smart AGL function, because it's a lifesaver when you have to fly over very very steep cliffs. Okay, let's see what else. What are the questions I can answer now? Yeah, so one question I have about, yeah, the focus for the Zenmuse P1 camera. So this is still actually set in Pilot 2. So UgCS, at least UgCS desktop, it doesn't really handle the camera focus. So that part is done on the mobile app. And let's see. Okay, some questions are very specific, so I maybe won't go into those yet. I'll scroll a bit back to see what was asked before. So quite a lot of them. See about the pitch and roll. This I believe I answered. Yeah, one question I actually see is for the vertical scan mission, can you go back and add additional waypoints to an existing route without it being an additional flight plan? Well, whenever you're planning vertical inspection missions, you can always convert them into waypoints and then make changes there. So that's at least what I would recommend. So just to maybe very quickly try to show you how that would look like. So if you have this vertical inspection mission here, I'll just add a few points in here, and also maybe let's just adjust the maximum altitude to something like 100, just maybe make it a bit more visible. So this is how it looks like in here by default. So you can see we have these three approximating points. So that's 1, 2, and 3. If you want to add more of these approximating points, you can do that in here. But I believe your question was more about adding specific waypoints in here. So if you want to add waypoints, then basically, yeah, I think the best way is that whenever you have a vertical inspection mission, you can convert it into waypoints. So you can go here, then select convert to waypoints. Then the previous route I can just hide away. And then in this one, you can do a lot of different things. So let's say if you, for example, wanted to take these points and move them, let's say a bit further, then you can do that like so. And so in fact, you can let's even select all of the points there at the bottom and move all of them somewhere a bit further away if that's needed. So yeah, all of those things you can do in here. Yeah. So now it looks a bit more. I just hit the previous route that wasn't in this location. So yeah, basically you can select different waypoints like so. You can move them. If you want to add new waypoints, then also it's possible you can just select the waypoint after which you want to add the other one, and then just shift click or double click, and then you can add them like so. So essentially everything here is very, very customizable to your needs, because I know a lot of you guys are scanning vertical rock cliffs, things like that. So that could also come in handy. Okay, let's see what else. Oh yeah, there's another question. Just to verify, I don't need the laptop in the field. Yeah, so that's really up to you, because some of our pilots, they have laptop always with them. You don't need a laptop to launch a mission in the field. It's sometimes good to have with you in case you need to make some adjustments. But also what you can do is you can just pre-plan all the missions when you are in the office. You can save them on the remote controller. So whether you're using UgCS for DJI or DJI Pilot, in those cases, you can just save the routes onto the controller, and then when you're in the field, you can just take off and fly. So in short, the answer is it's not needed to have the laptop, but sometimes it can be useful in case you need to make some adjustments. Moreover, if you're in some areas where the internet connectivity might not be that great, also, by the way, keep in mind UgCS offers the possibility to catch the map for offline use. So you can just select the area which you want to catch and then hit enter, click on create, and then this area will be saved in here. And yeah, by the way, this is also the new indicator which we now have in UgCS 5.0. Okay, let's see what else. Yeah, in case you are connecting with DJI Pilot app, then you won't see these command buttons. That's if you connect from DJI Pilot 2 directly to UgCS. That's just one thing to remember. So in those cases, it's not a bug. That's how it just works. DJI doesn't allow you to send commands directly if you're using the direct connection from Pilot 2. But if you're connecting from UgCS for DJI or UgCS companion apps, then you will see these commands. Yeah, actually, another question I see is having photos from photogrammetry mission automatically saved in auto-generated folders on the SD card to help with organization. Yes, that we are aware of this, and so also we will add this very soon. So also the photos will have a bit more ordering there inside. Oh yeah, actually another very, very common question which I hear is how can you change, or if you can change the system, the measurement system from metric to imperial. So to that, firstly, yes, that's possible. And to do that, you can go here into the main menu, then configuration. So actually this configuration tab, I think, answers a lot of the questions that some of you guys might have. So then you go into measurement, and then in here you can switch into imperial. And then if you go back, so now you can see that the flight speed is now feet per second. The altitude is also in feet, and all of those things. So for those of you who prefer the imperial system, then you can easily change to that in there from the main menu. And let's see what else. And yes, so if you want to change the coordinates to the from the decimal to the basically, if you want to change between the decimal to the degrees, minutes, and seconds, then you can do this easily here. So on whichever segment you are, you can just press here on DMS, and then you will be able to see that now all of this has changed, switched, and now you can easily go between either the decimal or degrees, minutes, and seconds coordinate systems. Let's see. Oh yeah, question about, is the echo sounder payload included in the payload listing? So in here, out of the box, it's not inside here. But if you want the echo sounder for the Grasshopper mode, then actually we can just send you a payload file, because now for both the vehicles and the payloads, you can easily export and import them. So you would just go to import the new file, and then you would be able to use that. So just hit us up with a question that you want that, and then we will be able to send that to you. For some other like camera payloads, like the phase 1 P3, all of those payload profiles we have on our manual site, so you can find them in there. Okay, so let's see what else I can answer right now. Oh yeah, can this work with DJI Phantom 4 Pro V2? Yes, but with some Phantom 4s, those which come with the integrated screens on the remote, in those cases, you just need to have the SDK controller. But the Phantom 4 Pro V2, just they had a lot of versions there, so I don't exactly remember if that's the one that came with the integrated screen. But if you have the normal controller where you can just put the phone, plug it in, and then you would use the app on your phone, then yeah, so then you would just need to have UgCS for DJI on your phone installed, and then you will be able to use it. Oh, by the way, another thing which I thought I'd mention now, in case any of you are using the or have the Autel 4T drone, so I believe the full name is Autel Evo Max 4T. Even though this drone, it's not yet officially supported, but actually you can use the Autel 4T with UgCS. So the support will announce quite soon, but in essence, it works very similar to how the DJI Pilot route export works. Because if you go to any of the routes, click on export and then Pilot 2, then this route will be exported into the DJI's KMZ format. And actually, this format you can also use in the Auto Explorer app. Later on, we'll make a more detailed video on how you can do this. But if you want to use the Auto 4T drone with this, then just yeah, that's the way how you can do that. Only trick is you would need to plan the mission for DJI M330, or sorry, DJI M30 drone, and then you will be able to do that. Yeah, I see there's again a question about flying below 5-meter altitude. So I don't want to revisit this now again. And okay, maybe just very quickly show you. To fly a mission below 5-meter altitude, in general, you just need to change the drone profile settings. So go to whichever drone profile you want to use, and then in here, find where you have this safe height over terrain, and then this parameter you can change from 5 meters lower to something like 2, and then you will be able to plan automated missions under that altitude. But so keep in mind, whenever you have to fly that low, I would really recommend to just use the true terrain following system. So whether you have an autopilot drone or something like DJI M300 or M350, you can integrate our SkyHub computer on that drone and use the true terrain following, because it will be a lot safer than just relying on the terrain elevation data in order to fly a mission like that. But okay, I'll see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, there's another question on YouTube actually. So how to adjust the angle of the camera. So I'll just maybe quickly answer this one as well. Let's maybe go to this route in here. So to adjust the angle of the camera, you would need to add a camera action. So you would just go here into actions, and then set camera attitude, and then you can set, for instance, the camera tilt 90 degrees or to whatever value you want, and then the camera will automatically be adjusted when the mission starts. But yeah, I think that's actually most of the questions. Sorry, I can't answer all of them. Don't really have time for that many, but I think maybe a few last ones, and then we can try to wrap this up already. Just also maybe not use too much of your guys' time. But yeah, so then let's see. In case your question won't get answered now, then I'll just please feel free to also send us an email to support@ugcs.com, and then we'll also be able to answer it there. One question I see is also about the minimum AGL tolerance value. So for those of you wondering, so yeah, as you know, so we have the AGL tolerance parameter in here. And so what it does is that for every let's say for every 1 meter change in the terrain elevation, UgCS will add a waypoint to account on that. And so the minimum value you can put here is, I believe, maybe even 0.1, but I think reliably probably something like 0.5. But you can see even now here, if I put the AGL tolerance as 10 centimeters, the mission was still calculated. I just believe I'll have a lot of waypoints in here. So if I open up the elevation profile, you can see I have about 1097 waypoints in this mission now. But basically, whenever you're flying over the terrain where you have to make a lot of adjustments, in general, I'd recommend two things. So firstly, use very accurate terrain elevation data. So by default, we're using SRTM1 arcsecond terrain elevation data. But when you have to fly with a very high degree of accuracy, I would actually even recommend to use some other elevation data. For those of you from the USA, you can use the United States Geospatial Service site, so USGS, and you can just download the elevation data from there as a GeoTIFF file and then import into UgCS. We might make a video on that soon, just to show you some details. Yep, that's in general how you can do that. And yeah, as you can see, you can also set quite a high degree of precision in missions in here. But yeah, I think then that's probably all for today. So again, any other questions which I didn't have time to answer, please make sure to send them to our support. So support@ugcs.com if you want to get your question answered. And yeah, so hope you guys, those of you who have already upgraded to 5.0, give us some feedback. Let us know how everything is. Those of you who haven't yet, then hope that after this webinar, you'll have the chance to update 5.0 and try it out. But yeah, so thank you everybody for your time so much. Hope it was useful and enjoyable. So yeah, thank you and see you in the next one. Bye.